Hi, it's Pete Buttigieg calling for the Vice President. I wanted to see if I could catch him for a couple of minutes to share some news about our plans. My number is 574. I'll also send a text message to this number from my number that would be a good callback. Thank you.
And it's a problem for all of these other candidates because one or more of them need to figure out, probably more in the vicinity of probably 2 or 3.
I was going to say,
figure out who's going to be the one to step back.
Someone needs to pull an Andrew Yang. Like, I've done the math. I'm not going to win.
No road forward. How hard is that for a candidate to have a conversation with himself or herself and her staff and say, okay.
That's why you have to hire Andrew Yang to do the math for them.
It's not gonna happen. I think it's gonna get nasty. Well, you can answer that then.
Well, it's tough going in both directions, Gloria, because, we were talking about if you have a bad night and you get up in front of the crowd and be like, it was a great night. You know what I mean? Like, on some level, it does ring hollow. It's hard to continue beating that drum. So it's hard to drop out, but in some cases, it's hard to keep going.
Well, we believe that there are places from coast to coast in districts across different states where our message is resonating particularly well. We'll be looking at the math as we continue to push and make the most of the resources that we have. And
keep
every single day, we do a lot of math on this campaign, and so we'll be assessing at every turn not only what the right answer is for the campaign, but making sure that every step we take is in the best interest of the party and that goal of making sure we defeat Donald Trump, because our country can't take 4 more years of this.
And so we must recognize that at this point in the race, the best way to keep faith with those goals and ideals is to step aside and help bring our party and our country together. So tonight, I am making the difficult decision to suspend my campaign for the presidency. I will no longer seek to be the 2020 Democratic nominee for president, but I will do everything in my power to ensure that we have a new Democratic president come January.
Hi, it's Pete Buttigieg calling for the Vice President. I wanted to see if I could catch him for a couple of minutes to share some news about our plans. My number is 574. I'll also send a text message to this number from my number that would be a good callback. Thank you.
We have to, because every time this president brings partisan politics into the management of a deadly serious pandemic, or purges officials who honored their oaths of office by telling the truth, or cloaks in religious language an administration whose actions harm the least among us, the sick and the poor, the outcast and the stranger, we are reminded just how urgent it is that we change who is in the White House. We cannot afford to miss this moment. With every passing day, I am more and more convinced that the only way we will defeat Trump and Trumpism is with a new politics that gathers people together. We need leadership to heal a divided nation, not drive us further apart. We need a broad-based agenda that can truly deliver for the American people, not one that gets lost in ideology. We need an approach strong enough not only to win the White House, but to hold the House, win the Senate, and send Mitch McConnell into retirement. And that broad and inclusive politics, that is the politics that we have attempted to model through this campaign. That, I believe, is the way forward for our eventual nominee. So I urge everyone who supported me to continue in the cause of ensuring that we bring change to the White House and working to win the absolutely critical down-ballot races playing out across the country this year. There is simply too much at stake to retreat to the sidelines at a time like this. And as this contest gives way to the season of weekly elections and delegate math, it is more important than ever that we hold to what this is actually all about. Politics is not about the horse race, not about the debate stage or a precinct count in a spreadsheet. It is about real people's lives. It is about our paychecks, our families, our futures. We can and must put the everyday lives of Americans who have been overlooked for so long back at the center of our politics. And every story that became part of this campaign helped show us why and how we do just that. Politics is about people, and that is especially true of the people who touch this campaign. To my competitors in a historically diverse field, those who have stepped aside and those still competing, thank you for demonstrating what public service can be.
Joining us now, former Democratic presidential candidate and CNN political commentator Andrew Yang. He's on the phone with us. First, your reaction.
Well, Anna, this is a big announcement, but it's not a complete surprise, in part because it's the right decision. And Pete became a top-tier contender out of relative anonymity because he makes the right decision. Super Tuesday is just essentially hours away, and Pete was unlikely to post a win in any of the states. He didn't have a funding path forward, and so he looked at the path ahead and said that dropping out would be the best decision for the party, for his team, and for the country. And so I applaud this decision because I think Pete is doing it for all the right reasons. I think it's actually a tremendous boost for those who want to defeat Donald Trump in the fall.
But where do you see his supporters going?
You have to see the vast majority of his support going to Joe Biden. This is a major boost for Joe Biden going into Super Tuesday. Pete was polling in, let's call it the 8 to 12% range, depending upon the state, and most of those votes are going to go straight to Joe. A few might go to Mayor Bloomberg, but this cannot be seen as anything other than a major boost for Joe Biden heading into Super Tuesday.
Now, we understand the two have exchanged voicemails today, although they haven't had a chance to actually connect. I know you haven't made an endorsement yet. Our understanding is the former mayor is not expected to make an endorsement tonight when he makes his announcement in the next hour. But, I mean, if he is concerned about Sanders' campaign, and our reporting is that that is largely what impacted his decision here, that he was unwilling to be one reason that Senator Bernie Sanders is able to get an insurmountable lead, according to our sources. Given there are other moderate candidates still in the race, Amy Klobuchar, for example, Michael Bloomberg, another example, would it be beneficial for him to make an endorsement before Super Tuesday?
Well, having been through this process, Anna, there are so many people that help you in your campaign, and you want to honor the conclusion of your campaign. It's almost like you can't really do both things at once and do them appropriately, in my experience. I mean, this is going to be very, very hard news for many, many people who've been supporting Pete for the last number of months. And I think it's entirely right for him to address them and focus on the campaign first, end its conclusion, and then turn his attention to the other candidates who are still in the race.
What do you see as his influence on this race going forward?
Well, certainly Pete has garnered tremendous support around the country. I do think most of his support will naturally flow to Joe. But if Pete were to decide to endorse, of course, it'd be very meaningful. He raised tens of millions of dollars from Americans around the country, and I think that the people that supported him would be thrilled to see Pete campaign for someone else if Pete decided to do so.
Andrew Yang, I do want to ask you, because you were somebody who, has provided more diversity in this race, and now we have another person who brought that diversity into the race dropping out. We're left with three men. The youngest now is 77 years old. That is Joe Biden. And of course, we also have a couple of women still in the race, Amy Klobuchar and Elizabeth Warren, competing. But Are you surprised this is where we are right now?
Unfortunately, Anna, I think we can all see where this race is trending. So I'm not sure I can say I'm surprised. I do think that for a variety of reasons, many people want to see the field consolidate as much as possible very quickly, essentially into Bernie and then one other non-Bernie candidate. So that dynamic is going to continue. To me, the major variable is Mike Bloomberg. What is his plan? There was some thought that he might even make a decision heading into Super Tuesday, even though the voting hasn't really started in terms of the states that Mike is competing in. That, to me, is the major variable in everything, because Mike's bankroll enables him to be competitive anywhere he wants to be. He hasn't been able to reach certain percentages in the polls, but he's competitive just about everywhere. So to me, that is the major decision ahead for the field, really what Mike's dashboard tells him is the right thing to do.
All right, Andrew Yang, really appreciate your insights. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Anna.